Hi, my name is Coach Victoria. I am the owner and head compulsory coach here at Flight Athletic Academy.
I'm Coach Seth. I am the head optional team coach at FAA.
We wanted to do an overview of our competitive team program. Just want to start out with our gym mission. We want all of our athletes to have a positive gymnastics experience. We want them to go on and think fondly of all of their gymnastics memories, and we make sure that our top priority is the total well-being of all of our athletes.
It's very important that the health and well-being of the child comes first, and then health and well-being of the athlete after. So we're always going to put the child first, athlete second. This being a positive training environment, that means we want it to be fun, but also challenging for them. And that way they're going to be engaged in what they're doing, and they're really going to be proud of what they're doing. So we're going to talk a little bit about our philosophies as coaches. They are going to differ slightly because I am working with optional team and it's older girls that are doing a higher level of gymnastics. She's working with compulsory team. There's going to be younger children and a lower level of gymnastics. So a lot of what she does is going to be focused on their building blocks to get to what I do after. So I rely on her very heavily for these children to come up to me and be ready. I'll let you go first so you can kind of explain that and what you do with them younger to get them ready for the higher levels.
First and foremost, we make sure that they love being in the gym, that they love gymnastics, and the feeling of doing gymnastics, because as Coach Seth is probably going to say, that is so important for them. So when they're here, we want them to feel like there's somebody in their corner, somebody supporting them, caring about them, and loving them. So with lower level gymnastics, there's a lot of skills that they're going to learn. We don't really focus on just picking 3 or 4 skills and perfecting them at each level. We give them a really large skill bank. We want them to have a solid understanding of those skills so that when they do go to upper level gymnastics, they'll just be better off. However, those things are tedious, and so as a lower level coach, it's my philosophy to make sure that they can fall in love with the process, that they enjoy each and every step of gymnastics, and that they are having fun with those building blocks.
Intrinsic motivation is a really big deal in our sport, which just means doing things for the sake of doing it and for the reward of getting it done rather than expecting an external reward for it.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that we push into them from a really young age. It's like, hey, you need to be doing this for you and not for anyone else. You need to want to do this because you want to do it. And that sets them up for success going into higher levels. Once they're there, and I get a child that's been doing level 5, they come up to level 6 and up, they should really be ready to succeed, because by that point they really understand what the sport means. They understand how to work hard, and they understand that they have ownership of their gymnastics. I'm not here to force people to do anything. That would really not be very fun for anyone. I'm here to guide and to lead. So I work very hard to set up our system and our program to where it's very clear cut. They understand what's expected of them, and I'm just here to guide them along and help them on their journey. I'm not here to force anyone to do anything.
Yep.
And that's my biggest philosophy. It's like I am a helper, and they are just attacking their goals, and they look to me for assistance.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times I have parents come up to me and say, oh, you can push her, but I never want to do that. I will motivate my athletes, but I'm not going to push them, because as soon as I stop pushing them, they stop moving. So that is not what we want to do. We want them to be intrinsically motivated. We want them to love what they do, and really fall in love with the process.
So next, we want to go over kind of our general outline of our program and what that looks like and what it would look like as a parent watching the practices. We do a lot of work behind the scenes to make each practice be as efficient as possible, and everything we do has a goal in mind. So while you're up there watching, you're going to see us moving constantly. Us as coaches are very engaged and active with all of the athletes. We're not standing around and expecting them to just go and do all the work. We're very active so that we're setting the pace and setting the tone for the practices. Actual programming wise, we do structure out their strength and conditioning and their skill work throughout the off season and the competitive season as well. This way, everything is really cohesive throughout the whole year. There's nothing slipping between the cracks, and like, oh, we haven't done legs in a month, or something crazy like that happening, or like neglecting a certain skill group and not realizing it until it's too late. So we work tirelessly behind the scenes to make the practices be as efficient as possible and make sure that we're getting everything done that we're supposed to get done.
One of the things that is a little bit unique about our program is that we have a typical off season. Ours is longer. Ours looks a little bit longer than of this region, how long people would spend in off season. That is because we like to be working on upgrade skills, and we like to be working on developing their power and their general strength in that off season, so that they can make bigger gains year to year without us having to focus on routines for as long as we would have to if we competed for longer out of the year. So we do have kind of a longer off season than is typical for this region.
That really helps us to keep the athletes' bodies healthy as well, because the hard competition landings of skills on the spring floor and on vault and even off of bars, it can harm their bodies, and overuse just stacks up. So having a longer off season, we can focus on technique of landings and prehab is like basically rehab exercises, but before they get hurt, so then they hopefully don't get hurt. So we spend a lot more time staying on soft surfaces and working techniques so that when it comes time to put routines together for the off season, or the competition season, and we're ready to go. This also helps us, we can manipulate the numbers of skills and routines that they're doing throughout season, so that by the time we get to those bigger, more important competitions towards the end of the season, they're feeling good, they're feeling healthy, and they're going to have their best meets later in the season when it really matters most. So that's a general outline of the program and just the structure of everything, and that's something that we really pride ourselves on, is being structured, being organized, and always being active and engaged, because they deserve that much from us.
Yeah. In the programming, the goal of our program is to really increase the longevity of our athletes. And I think something that you will see with that is that the kids aren't going to burn out as quickly. And one of the things that we've realized with having our athletes kind of stick around for a long while is that once they get to that point where they have the maturity to understand this sport, everything just starts clicking. And we want our athletes to get to that point. We want them to kind of be able to preserve their bodies to get to that point, so that they can have that moment where, wow, all of my hard work is finally paying off. Something that's really important to us as coaches is to constantly be learning, to always be looking for the best way to do things, the best way to take care of our athletes, the best way to teach skills. We have a really big support group of coaches that help and mentor us. We are constantly reaching out to them, and not only coaches, but medical professionals as well, physical therapists that help us plan our entire programming. And so we are always willing to ask for help, to ask questions, willing to try new things, and to be constantly bettering our program. So something that we do is we are willing to take our athletes to camps, we're willing to send our athletes to camps, to clinics, to work with really established, awesome teams, coaches, and programs, because we think that's only just going to make us better and make them better, and all around just a wise decision.
It's big for them to see how things are done in other places and in really successful programs, so that they start to get a better understanding of gymnastics. They might go to a camp, see something being done, and go like, oh, I get why this is important now. So then when they come back to the gym and they're learning things that way, they really get it and they apply themselves to it. It's a big motivational thing for them, and it's also fun to just go to camps and make friends. So we love doing that.
Difference between the XCEL program and the compulsory optional program. Compulsory gymnastics is levels 1 through 5. All of the routines were designed by a board of gymnastics coaches from USAG. Those routines are completely set and structured. They use the exact same music. They have the exact same skills. There is very, very little wiggle room with what skills you can do. Optional level gymnastics, level 6 through 10. Once they've gone through compulsory gymnastics, they can then kind of design their own routines that are kind of catered to what their strengths are and kind of stay away from whatever their weaknesses are. However, there's still a really strict set of rules involving routine composition.
Requirements.
XCEL gymnastics is a little bit more flexible. It allows the athletes to really create routines that focus only on their strengths. There is very little strict structure. And so with XCEL gymnastics, you're just given special requirements, and as long as you meet those special requirements, then you can start at a full score value. So XCEL gymnastics is just a little bit more flexible and really allows us to work with different learning styles, athletes that might have certain weaknesses that would prevent them from doing things that would be typically required of them in compulsory and optional gymnastics. So there are benefits to all programs. We just place athletes based on where we feel like they're going to be happiest and where they're going to succeed and what's in their best interest. All of our programs are amazing. We value each and every single one of them. All of our competitive team athletes will start with level 1 and 2. Those are compulsory levels, so those routines are set and designed by someone other than us. And every level 1 and 2 athlete in the entire country is going to be doing those routines. Once they've reached level 2 and they have met the requirements to move on to the next level, that's when we typically decide if they're going to do better in XCEL or better continuing on the compulsory track. So they would then move to level 3 or move to silver from there. Requirements are a little bit different. With level 3, they'll be required to do a front hip circle, to vault over a 32-inch mat, do a round up back handspring, things like that. And so if we have athletes that have successfully made it through level 2, done a really fine job with that, but are struggling to meet those really strict requirements with level 3, and let's say they're better at a front handspring on floor than a back handspring, or they want to do a quarter on vault, those kids could move into silver, so that this way they're still moving up through, but they wouldn't be kind of trapped at level 2 if they didn't meet those really strict specific requirements that level 3 has. So this way we can keep challenging them because we don't want to ever hold them back. So that's what silver kind of allows us to do, is to keep our athletes in a challenging environment. So we really love and value that program.
Doing things this way really allows us to have a home for every athlete that walks into the gym.
Yeah.
If they work their way up and they're joining team, every athlete's going to have a home on the team.
Yeah.
If we were to stick with one or the other, there might be people that feel out of place or feel like they're in the wrong level. The way that we're doing this makes it to where everyone has a home in their correct level.
Yeah. So what are the prerequisites to be on competitive team? A pullover, a cast back hip circle, an underswing dismount or a straddle on dismount on bars. Other things you need: a backward roll, a forward roll, a candlestick, a cartwheel,
A
handstand. On balance beam, they need to be able to do a lever in a side handstand dismount from a knee. And those are the things that they would need to be able to join competitive team. Now let's say you're like, I really want my athlete to do competitive gymnastics, but they don't have those prerequisites. Don't get discouraged. There is a way to get them to competitive gymnastics. Our entire recreational program, it is structured in a way that as soon as they make it up to the advanced gymnastics class, they are able to come to a competition with us. We also have our liftoff program. Our liftoff program, they might not meet the requirements for level 1 actual competitive team, but we do still bring them to one gymnastics competition. Liftoff is a by invitation only class. Younger athletes that just kind of come in and really love it and are super dedicated, but might not meet the requirements for our competitive team, they're going to be looked at for our liftoff program, and that's always really fun, and they have a good time coming to a competition with us. They're not required to get the full competition leotard or anything like that, so it's just a good way to experience what a competitive team program is like. Once your child has made it onto competitive team, how do they move up through the levels? We have a star system, And so we evaluate each of their skills on a 3-star scale. 1 star means they can attempt the skill. 2 stars means they can safely and consistently do that skill by themselves without a spot, or without any special matting or anything. And then 3 stars means they're doing it with minimal deductions. Now, to move up through the levels, they are required to have a certain percentage of stars. They're required to at least have 2 stars on all of their required skills for a certain level. And so there's never going to be any surprise of where your athlete's at, because we've got really, like, we list out the requirements for you. There's like a little checklist. They have to have a coach's recommendation to move up to a level. They have to have this percentage of their stars. They have to have the required stars on each skill. They have to have met a certain all-around score at a meet the level before. And so it is really cut and dry, black and white, very easy to understand, and there's never any surprise. We don't just pick and choose who we want to be on which level. The kids really have to work for it and earn it, and it's a great lesson to learn, because that's how life works.
That's part of the organization of our program, because the stars don't lie. The stars are non-negotiable. We can't cheat the stars just to put a child into a level that they're not ready for. That keeps it so that everyone is in their correct level where they belong, and that's the biggest goal. We don't want to put someone to a level too quickly and them not be successful there. We don't want to hold a child back in a level for too long and then be ready to move up and not. So the stars are how we keep that cohesive throughout, and we keep it objective.
Yeah. But if you do have any questions about our competitive team program, in addition to what we just went over, we are always happy to talk about what we offer here at Flight Athletic Academy. So feel free to give us a call, send us an email, and we can even set up a meeting with you to talk with you about our program. We'd be happy to do that.
It's a lot first starting out, especially if you're new to this sport. You don't have to fully understand everything that we do in the gym, but as long as you understand how it works and where your child is supposed to be, then we can help you with all the questions that you need.
Yeah. And if you ever have any questions about, why we're doing this, why we're training that, we are very knowledgeable about this sport. We've been around it for a while. We've done a lot of training ourselves, and we're never offended when anybody asks questions about why we're doing this way or why their kid is at this level, because we have the answers, and we're happy to give those to you. Smiles! Oh, I'm taking another video.